You ever feel like life's whispering, "It's time"? That's the whisper I followed. From the city lights of Atlanta to the soul-stretching skies of Auckland, welcome to Being, the podcast where bold moves meet deep truths. I'm Shea Love, and each week I'm sharing the messy, the magical, and meaningful moments that come with starting over and stepping fully into who you are. What if the loudest voice in your head wasn't your own? In this episode of Being, I take two very different walks, one through Cornwall Park and the other along the Routeburn track. Both became a journey back in time to a voice I hadn't realized I was still carrying, a comment from middle school that tried to shrink who I was until a trail in New Zealand helped me see myself differently. This is a story about memory, movement, and reclaiming the voices that shape us. There's a beautiful park in Auckland called Cornwall Park, nestled around the iconic One Tree Hill, a volcanic peak rich with Maori history. The land carries deep cultural and spiritual significance, and the hill, once the site of a Maori pa, which is a fortified village, it stands today as a reminder of resilience, identity, and legacy. And on a clear day, you can see the entire city from the top, 360 degrees of skyline, sea, and sky. But for all its grandeur, the most moving part of the park is how alive it feels. And on this particular day, I had been invited by a friend to take a walk. And one of the things I've grown to love about New Zealand, well, really everything, but friendships, conversations, healing, it starts with a reason to be outside. But walks aren't just walks here. They're invitations to connect, to reflect, and to share. As we move through the winding paths, we swap stories about work, relationships, childhood. And then without planning, we started talking about the voices we carry. Not just what people say out loud, but the words that stay with us, the comments, judgments, affirmations, expectations, some handed down by family, others absorbed from society. Voices that shape our sense of self, voices that either root us or pull us away from who we truly are. And that conversation unlocked a memory I hadn't visited in years. When I was in middle school in Albuquerque, New Mexico, the school announced open auditions for girls who wanted to join the drill team. And listen, there's one thing I have always loved: music, dancing, and any chance to wear a cute outfit. I was all in. The auditions were pretty informal, but when I made the team, oh my gosh, I was so proud. We practiced for weeks preparing for a beautifully synchronized routine to this song, Jump, by the Pointer Sisters, and I can still hear the beat in my head. Our uniforms were candy red and white sweaters, striped cheer skirts, white socks, and shoes. We looked so cute. And I remember waking up the morning of our first performance absolutely beaming. I had practiced every move. I knew the choreography backwards and forwards. I felt confident, excited, proud to be part of something creative and unified. But then, one moment changed everything. As I was walking down the hallway toward the gym, getting ready to prepare for the performance, feeling amazing in my little uniform, I passed by a boy I had a middle school crush on. You know, the kind where even a glance in your direction, it just feels so magical. But instead of saying hi or even smiling, he muttered, loud enough for me to hear,
"Thunder thighs."
That was it. 2 words. And just like that, my spirit kind of crumbled. The joy I felt, gone. I was crushed, not just by the words, but by the fact that they came from someone whose opinion I had secretly placed on a pedestal. What's wild is that I carried those 2 words with me for years, too many to count. And I'd hear them every time I was in a dressing room, in the mirror, anytime I put on a bathing suit, a mini skirt, or anything that showed my legs. That voice, the voice of a 13-year-old boy, was still echoing inside my grown woman body. Until recently. If this episode is speaking to you, if it's stirring something in your spirit, or simply making you feel seen, join me on Substack at beingshaylove.substack.com. That's where I share personal reflections, lives, behind-the-scenes stories, voice notes, and little reminders that keep you going. So if you want more of this, more growth, more honesty, more being, head over to Substack, beingshaylove.substack.com. I was in Glenorchy, New Zealand. I decided to try out the Routeburn track. Not the full multi-day hike, just enough to reach the first hut. The track is quiet, peaceful, no predators, just rocks, elevation, breathtaking scenery, and space. Space to think and space to feel. And somewhere between my thoughts, my breath, and the crunch of the trail, his voice came back to me.
Thunder thighs.
This time, though, I did something different. I actually looked it up. And the definition read, the idiom thunder thighs refers to someone who has large or muscular thighs. It originates from the association of thunder with loud and powerful sounds, and thighs with their strength and size. Now that made me smile. Yes, my thighs are strong. Yes, they're muscular. And yes, they've carried me through 2 childbirths, seasons of change, into new rooms, out of challenging situations, up unfamiliar staircases, into new cities. They've climbed mountains, and now they were carrying me through a land I had once only dreamed of. It was like my middle school self finally met my current self and saw her for who she is, whole, grounded, and worthy. And here's what I realized. We hear thousands of voices over the course of our lives, compliments, encouragement, affirmations, but somehow it's the one cruel comment that clings like Velcro. It's the one moment of shame that burrows deeper than all the praise. And yet it doesn't have to stay that way, because just like negative voices plant doubt, positive voices can plant truth. Voices that say,
"You're powerful.
Keep going.
I love it."
And that's what this is really about. And it was inspired by one of those voices, the same voice that walked beside me through Cornwall Park, the kind of friend who doesn't just listen, but reflects you back to yourself, who reminds you of your worth. Every time I sit down to prepare an episode, I hear her words like a gentle rhythm in the background.
Keep going.
That line lives in me. It fuels me. It reminds me of the energy I want to carry into the world. It's our resilience, our faith, our courage that move us forward despite the voices that try to shrink us. But it's also our discernment, our power to choose which voices we amplify, which ones get to stay, which ones get planted and watered, and which ones we finally release. So maybe today it's time to ask, whose voice is living in your head rent-free? And is it building you or breaking you? Maybe the real work is to start replacing the echoes of shame with new sounds of love, of truth, of possibility. Here's the reality. Your thighs, your skin, your laugh, your voice, your dreams. You. They were never too much. They were always just enough to carry you exactly where you're meant to be. Some voices we inherit, some we absorb, and some we choose to keep. But the ones that matter, they don't shrink you, they don't shame you, they free you. The words you carry shape how you walk through the world, literally and figuratively. So choose wisely. Hold on to the ones that lift you, that anchor you, that plant seeds that grow trees. Because when your body carries the weight of purpose and your spirit echoes with truth, you don't just walk through life. you rise, thunder, thighs, and all. You've been listening to Being from Atlanta to Auckland. I'm Shea Love, and if this episode made you feel seen, maybe it sparked something deep or reminded you that change is possible, go ahead and follow, subscribe, and send it to a friend. This journey is just starting. Keep stretching, keep rising, and always keep being.